I will give you the final case for the day, and we'll see who is going to deliver, whether it's going to be the puppet or it's going to be me. I don't know yet. I am a puppeteer. This is a brand new puppet, so he's meeting you for the first time, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say. And I have to tell you that I'm not a ventriloquist. So, and I always used to tell my students, well, the puppet can't talk, he doesn't have a tongue, show him. That's right. So I have to talk for him. And they always bought that, so. All right, so he has a name. I call him, he's a monk, of course, you can see it by his clothes. And he's I guess you could say he's a monkey, he's got a tail. So I call him Monk Kee. So, Mr. Monkey, is it okay to call you Mr. Monkey? Well, okay. If you want to do that, that's okay. I would rather have you call me Ajahn. Ajahn? Does that mean you're a teacher? Well, yes. Now, actually, I'm brand new. I was just created a week ago. Really? Well, you should know you created me. Well, that's true, I did. I sewed you together, didn't I? Yes. Sort of like Frankenstein. Okay. Well, listen. I want to tell everyone here that I am enlightened. So, whatever I say, you can believe me, and it's the truth. Now, do you believe me? If you believe me, raise your hand. Let me see. Nobody. One person. Two. Ah, there's two enlightened people in the crowd. Okay. Now, I'll tell you something. They say you should never tell someone you're enlightened. And if you do, you're not enlightened. Right? Well, the reason I'm enlightened is because I have no self. I'm empty inside. Not only that, but I don't have a mind. So I am an enlightened puppet. But don't tell anybody that. They won't believe you. Okay? All right, now, this gentleman here, his name is Mr. Sid, and I will be turning over, unless you want me to teach this, to him. See, he's not enlightened, that's for sure. But he may, offer you a few tidbits from Buddhist history and the Mumonkan case number 37. Okay? Are you ready? You want me to do it or Mr. Sid? Raise your hand. See, I'm sorry I'm treating everyone like little babies, little children. But you know what Jesus said? You can't enter into heaven unless you're a little child, right? Did he say that? Or maybe he didn't say that. Something about a needle, right? Okay, anyway, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sid. I think you probably would you rather have him or me?
Puppet.
Puppet.
Monkey.
Oh!
Monkey.
Monkey. I love that. Okay. Mr. Sid, I'm going to need your assistance. Okay, what do you want me to do? See that paper on the table there? Yes. Well, just hold it in your hand. Okay. You can put it on your lap. That's okay. Good. All right, here we go. Now, case number 37 from the Mumonkan. And Mr. Mr. Sid is not an expert on the Mumonkan, but he researched this one and he knows a lot of facts. And I'm going to tell you about the Mumonkan 37. Here it is. There's only one question and one answer. And the question is, there was a monk that came up to Jashu and he said to him, what is the meaning of the patriarchs coming from the West? And Jashu, of course, he was a Roshi, said, the oak tree in the garden. Boy, is that nonsense. All right. Now, does anybody have any idea what that was all about? Somebody? No one? Oh, gosh. All right, that means I gotta tell you? Oh, Mr. Sear. Okay. All right, I'll tell you. First of all, let's talk about trees. Okay? Now, the idea is that there was an oak tree in the garden, but there's other interpretations that it wasn't an oak tree, it was a cypress tree. There was a big confusion between the Chinese and the Japanese. All right? So let's get that straight. Actually, I don't know if it was a cypress tree or an oak tree because they're both big, right? It wasn't a little tree in the garden, it was a big tree. And in Joshua's time, the trees were big, okay? So get that in your mind, first of all. There was a big tree in his garden, okay? Good. Now, what is this idea of the patriarchs coming from the West? What is that all about? All right, anybody know?
From India, I suppose.
I'm sorry, say it again?
From India.
Oh, India. Okay, the patriarchs came from India. Yes, that's it. But was it a specific person, or was it just like all the patriarchs? Yes.
But in India, it could be a banyan tree.
Oh, yes, but Joshua was in China. Yeah, it wasn't India. Okay. Now, this story is really about Bodhisattva called Bodhidharma. Now, we know a little bit about Bodhidharma because he brought to China from India Buddhism, right? Right. But when he came to China, he didn't bring any books, he didn't bring any sutras, he didn't do nothing. He just came there and he went to a temple and he sat in a cave and he just meditated for 9 years. They probably thought he was crazy. Wouldn't you think he was crazy if you saw somebody sitting with a beard in a cave? Anyway, doesn't matter. So, what was the point of this story, okay? Now, really, this story is about Buddha and about what he discovered and about the Dharma. Who knows what the Dharma is? Somebody here?
The truth.
No, nobody?
The truth.
The truth. The truth shall set you free. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. Okay. Now, the Dharma is what Buddha discovered, right? In a forest. He sat under a tree for how long? Well, 6 years, and he discovered the Dharma. Now, what happened after he discovered it? Does anybody know?
He let it go again.
He let it go. Who agrees with that? Raise your hand. No? No one's raising their hand. Okay. No, he actually taught. But first of all, he tried to convey the Dharma with a big D by sitting under a tree for 7 days, another 7 days. And then he said, nah, well, wait a minute. Maybe I'll try, maybe this is too hard to teach this. It's too hard to teach the Dharma. No one can understand it. You can't understand it with words, with logic. How am I going to teach that? And then out of the sky came a God, Brahma. And he said, well, Buddha, try, okay? Somebody will get it. Okay, so Buddha said, okay, I'll try. So Buddha went, and he went to a place called a deer park, and he sat on top of the deer park, and his 5 buddies, the Arhats, the future Arhats, came along, and he taught them about the Dharma, and then there were 6 Arhats, and they all had the Buddha minds. Okay? So what happened after that? Does anybody know? No? Okay.
Sangha rise up.
What?
Sangha rise up.
The Sangha rose up. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, what happened was Buddha taught for 40 years. He went out into India, marching all over India. And what he did was he died when he was 80. And then the Buddhist monks that he taught came together with Ananda, his cousin, and what happened was they all decided on what Buddha taught, and they called it a sutra, ideas of Buddha. Okay. Is anybody getting bored? I know I'm talking slow and kind of crazy here. Well, you know, I'll try to speed it up. What time is it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Now, Buddha. So it was 200 years after Buddha died that. They finally came together, all the monks, in a place called Sri Lanka. And they wrote down all the Buddhist teachings, okay? And that they remembered, because they had to remember all the teachings by heart, by memory. That's pretty good, good memory. So, it was then about 500 years later, long time, that Buddhism came to China. And about 100 after BC. And so, the reason I'm telling you all this is that Bodhidharma came to India, from India to China in 600 after birth of Christ. And by the time he came there, the Chinese already had Buddhism. They knew Buddhism. They had all the sutras. They had everything. But they wanted to find out how to deliver the Buddhism in their own way. And they thought, well, wait a minute, maybe I should use the scriptures that come from India. I should just use my own mind, my own heart, and try to figure out how to do it. And that was the beginning of Zen. Okay? Now, here's part of the answer to the riddle, about the tree in the garden. The oak, it was called a cypress tree or oak tree in the garden because, Joshua, when he looked at the tree, he said, that's the answer. That's why Bodhidharma came to China. China already had it. They already had it. But what he meant was, you cannot convey the truth, Buddha's truth, with words or sutras. You cannot do that. It's beyond logic. And being beyond logic, it's also beyond separation. There's a separation between people and objects, subject and object. So when he pointed to the tree, he was pointing out that he is like that tree. He's part of the tree. The tree is part of him. And that's the answer. Okay? So, can somebody explain that to me? One person? Nobody got it? Oh my gosh. Okay. Mr. Sid, you better find something here to entertain him with. All right. Read them something, just 1 minute. Okay. All right. I will. So, yeah. So, when Joshua was saying the cypress tree in the garden, he was pointing out that there was no separation between the tree and him.
Don't make Mr. Monk Kee hold your paper.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Monk. As we have said many times.
He's enlightened.
Oh, yes, I'm enlightened, but I like the whole paper. All right, everything is connected, like the internet. Everything is connected. And there's no self, okay, just like me, no self. And that I am part of everything, okay? Another thing is, what time is it? We've got a few minutes. Rinzai, the koans. Oh, I'm talking now. I thought Mr. Sid was going to talk. Okay, never mind. Rinzai tradition doesn't believe in thinking too much. Sort of like a lot of people I know. They don't like to think too much. And when you think, it's misleading. It's idle talk. It just creates more thinking. So that's the point of the koans. So what can anybody do? Does somebody know if you can't think and you want to be, how do you enter this state of mind? Now, you all should have some idea here. Does anyone have any idea?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, here's the question. How to become part of the tree?
Thank you.
How to be part of anything outside of you. You're not by yourself. You're part of everything. Okay? That's the idea of the koan. Who feels like they're by themselves? They exist by themselves. Anybody? Oh, I see some people laughing. Okay. Okay, who feels like they're part of everything? Oh, one person, 2 people.
Well, you're part of Mr. Monk Kee. You've got your hand up his butt.
Oh, Ajahn. That's not nice to say that. All right, I'll forgive you. I understand. All right. Well, let me say this, okay? Dogen. You know who Dogen is? Well, who's Dogen? Who can tell me what Dogen is? I know who he is. I'm just saying.
Is he the founder of Rinzai or Soto? I forget which one.
Okay. Does anyone know for sure?
Soto.
No.
Okay.
All right. There's a few people that know. Okay. Soto. Okay. Rinzai doesn't believe in use of words or letters or scriptures too much, but so they don't think you can think. You can't think to arrive at the solution. But Soto has a different idea. Dogen said you can use thinking to arrive at truth by thinking thoroughly. And you will find the end of thinking if you do that. So I don't know if that helps you. Does anyone feel more enlightened now?
Well, I have a question.
Oh, a question. Okay, go ahead.
I've heard all about Rinzai routine and the koans. I have a little experience with Soto temples, and there are no koans. You just sit and you meditate all day, pretty much, besides eating and sleeping and chanting a few sutras. So it sounds like, if anything, in Soto tradition, there's less emphasis on thinking and working things through rather than more.
Yes, that's true. In Soto, it is all about practice. It's about meditation. It's about attitude, really. It is a lifetime practice. And the experience, the mind, the spirit is in the mind and the heart. Okay? There's reading of great literature, but it's not emphasized. Even enlightenment is not emphasized in Soto Zen. Of course, that's important, you know, especially for puppets.
I have a question for Monk Kee.
Oh,
From Monk Kee.
yes, sir.
It's easy for you not to think because you don't have a brain. You're just empty. But we have brains. What do we do about these brains?
Ah, that's a good question. Okay, I'll give you the answer. Or I could make it into a koan for you, but that would take you, how old are you now?
Very old.
Okay, I'll tell you it fast then. Just observe. Just let the thoughts come in, observe them. No discrimination. Okay? Don't discriminate. Don't think this is good, this is bad. You know, I don't like you, you don't like me. I don't like this food, I don't like the television program. I don't like the baseball team. Don't think those thoughts. If you do think those thoughts, just look at them and laugh. You know? Have a little sense of humor. Okay, now,
Monkey mind.
monkey mind. Yes, monkey mind. What do you do with a monkey mind? What do you do?
For the monkey mind?
Yes.
Well, he has to tell us.
No,
I
no.
don't know what to do.
Well, everyone has a monkey mind, you know. I'm not the only one.
Doesn't he have monkey no mind?
Well, that's true. I have no
He has a
mind.
monkey hand.
The monkey no brain.
Okay, you know, everyone has a mind, everyone has a brain. Buddha mind. What is Buddha mind? That's if you understand that, the essence of this is that there's nothing, emptiness. It's all a big show. Isn't it? one big drama. But it's fun sometimes. And just watch it, observe it. No discrimination. Don't talk too much, you know. Take all your books and throw them in the garbage. That would be good. Don't watch TV. Eat a lot of Thai fruits. Stay inside, you know, during the daytime. Too much pollution. Anyway, any questions here?
I actually have.
All right.
Oh.
Yes, your question. Your hand is up, sir.
Well, just because monkey mind came up.
Sorry, Sid, I gotta go.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
Last Monday, leading up to our meditation, you were talking about our minds wandering, and you kind of said monkey mind, and then you said, but actually there's a different meaning for monkey mind.
Yeah, but I think we should.
Okay, just put that on the queue and we'll deal with it later.
Right. We can't help but have a monkey mind. You can only control it by here's a way to describe it. You know, if you had a cow in a cow pasture, how would you control the cow? You throw a
Put a
rope
fence
around
around
his
it?
neck and tie him to a pole? No. You give him a big, big, big cow pasture, and you just watch it. That's how you that's how you control the mind. Just watch, and don't, you know. All right, now that I told you all this, the truth, you gotta forget it, you know, because it's all idle talk. Remember, in Rinzai, it's all nonsense. Everything's nonsense. Unless you think about things really thoroughly, and maybe you'll be enlightened. One last thing, and to talk about the Dharma is hell. It's too hard. I think I'm going to go back to a tree somewhere and just sit under it. Okay? Any questions? This is your last chance.
Yeah,
In history, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. Well, the koan starts out asking the question, why did Bodhidharma come from India to China? I want to ask the question, why did Mr. Sid come from California to Bangkok?
Ah, I can't give you the, thank you. Move. That's all. That's all. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Okay, I think that's it today. If you have any questions, we'll be hanging around here for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll be hanging around.